The weight of unanswered prayers often feels like a physical burden, doesn't it? Like carrying stones in your pockets, each one a silent question mark aimed at the heavens. We strive, we believe, we pour our hearts out in supplication, yet the heavens sometimes seem distant, unresponsive. This isn't a crisis of faith, but a very human experience, a shared struggle in the journey of belief. It's in those moments of perceived silence that doubt can creep in, whispering insidious suggestions of abandonment, of divine indifference. We begin to question not just the answers, but the very act of asking. Are we truly heard? Does our connection, so vividly felt in moments of grace, simply fade into the ether when we face hardship? This morning isn't about dismissing those doubts with platitudes or offering simplistic solutions to complex spiritual questions. It's about acknowledging the raw reality of those feelings, the ache of unanswered longing, the fatigue of relentless petition. It's about recognizing that walking with God isn't always a stroll through a sunlit garden. Sometimes, it's a trek through a dense forest, where shadows lengthen and the path ahead is obscured. It's easy to maintain faith when blessings abound, when every need is met with seemingly miraculous precision. But what about when the miracles seem to cease? What about when the needs multiply and the answers remain elusive? This is where the true test of faith begins, where the casual believer is separated from the committed disciple. Perhaps you're facing a mountain of debt that seems insurmountable, despite your diligent efforts to manage your finances responsibly. Maybe it's a fractured relationship, a bond strained to the breaking point by misunderstandings and unspoken resentments. Or perhaps it's a health crisis, a relentless battle against illness that drains your energy and weakens your spirit. Whatever your specific challenge, the underlying feeling is the same, a profound sense of helplessness, a nagging fear that you're facing this battle alone. You've prayed, you've fasted, you've sought counsel, yet the breakthrough you desperately desire remains just out of reach. The temptation is to give up, to resign yourself to the circumstances, to conclude that God has somehow forgotten your plight. But what if the perceived silence isn't absence, but rather an invitation? An invitation to deepen your understanding of what it truly means to walk with God. Not as a passive recipient of blessings, but as an active participant in your own spiritual growth. Not as a petitioner demanding answers, but as a partner seeking wisdom. Walking with God isn't about dictating terms or manipulating outcomes. It's about aligning your will with His, trusting that His plan for your life, even when shrouded in mystery, is ultimately for your good. The core of this reflection lies not in providing instant solutions or guaranteeing immediate relief. Instead, it's a gentle nudge toward a more profound understanding of the divine relationship. It's about recognizing that God's presence isn't contingent on our circumstances, but rather a constant, unwavering reality, accessible even in the darkest of times. It's about shifting our focus from the desired outcome to the transformative journey itself, trusting that even in the midst of trials, we are being shaped, molded, and refined into the people we were created to be. This is not a promise of an easy path, but a declaration of unwavering companionship. A reminder that even when we feel lost and alone, we are never truly abandoned. The journey may be arduous, but the destination, and the growth experienced along the way, is infinitely worthwhile. Consider, if you will, a seasoned sailor navigating by the stars. The vast ocean represents the uncertainties of life, and the sailor, our own human spirit seeking guidance. The stars, in this analogy, are the constant principles and promises of faith. A novice mariner might only look for the brightest star, expecting immediate and direct navigation to a specific port. However, a skilled sailor understands that navigation involves triangulation, utilizing multiple celestial points to determine position and chart a course. Similarly, our walk with God often requires discerning multiple facets of His character and applying them to our situation, rather than expecting one blinding revelation to solve everything at once. On a related point, contemplating the idea of divine timing can offer solace when answers are delayed. Think of a master craftsman meticulously shaping a piece of wood. The craftsman doesn't rush the process, but instead patiently sands, chisels, and refines, understanding that each step is crucial to achieving the final, beautiful form. In much the same way, the Lord may be working on us, refining our character and preparing us for blessings that we are not yet ready to receive. Hasty answers, like poorly finished wood, may lack the strength and durability to withstand the pressures of life. Furthermore, it's vital to acknowledge that sometimes our prayers are answered in ways we don't anticipate. Picture a gardener who plants a seed expecting a rose, but instead, a strong oak tree begins to grow. The rose, though beautiful, may have been short-lived and fragile. The oak, however, provides shade, shelter, and enduring strength for generations. In the same manner, God's response to our prayers might not always align with our immediate desires, but they may ultimately serve a greater purpose, providing long-term benefits that far exceed our initial expectations. Another crucial layer is recognizing the transformative power of surrender. Imagine a tightrope walker who insists on controlling every aspect of their performance, refusing to trust the balance pole or the safety net below. Their fear and rigidity will likely lead to a fall. Conversely, a walker who trusts the equipment and their training can move with grace and confidence, even in the face of challenging winds. Likewise, surrendering our anxieties and control to God allows us to navigate life's uncertainties with greater poise and resilience. This doesn't mean passivity, but rather active trust in a power greater than ourselves. To extend this idea, consider the importance of communal support. A lone ember, separated from the fire, quickly cools and extinguishes. But when joined with other embers, it reignites and contributes to a roaring flame. Our faith, too, is strengthened when we connect with fellow believers, sharing our struggles, offering encouragement, and praying for one another. The collective strength of the community can provide the warmth and support needed to persevere through challenging times, reminding us that we are not alone in our journey. Sharing burdens lightens the load. In a related vein, reflecting on past experiences where perceived setbacks ultimately led to unforeseen blessings can fortify our faith during present trials. Think of the caterpillar, seemingly trapped in a chrysalis. From its perspective, it might appear to be a period of confinement and stagnation. Yet, unseen, a remarkable transformation is taking place, preparing it for a future of vibrant flight. Likewise, periods of difficulty in our lives, though painful and confusing, can be times of profound spiritual growth, equipping us for future opportunities and responsibilities. Remembering those past, chrysalis moments can offer hope and perspective when facing new challenges. Expanding on this idea, we should consider the role of active listening in our communication with the divine. It's easy to approach prayer as a one-way conversation, simply presenting our requests and expecting an immediate response. However, true communion involves attentive listening, discerning the subtle nudges and whispers of the Holy Spirit. It's akin to learning a new language. At first, we only understand a few words, but with diligent practice and attentive listening, we gradually grasp the nuances and complexities of the language. Similarly, cultivating a spirit of attentive listening in prayer allows us to better understand God's will and direction for our lives. To further illustrate this point, examine the concept of spiritual disciplines. These are intentional practices, such as prayer, fasting, and scripture study, designed to cultivate a deeper connection with God. They are like the consistent training regimen of an athlete. The athlete doesn't expect to win the race simply by showing up on the day of the event. They understand that consistent training, discipline, and sacrifice are essential for success. Similarly, engaging in spiritual discipline strengthens our faith and prepares us to face the challenges of life with greater resilience and grace. By the same token, cultivating gratitude, even in the midst of adversity, can profoundly shift our perspective. Visualize a prism. When light shines through it, the prism refracts the light, revealing a spectrum of vibrant colors. Similarly, gratitude acts as a prism, refracting our experiences and revealing the blessings that are often hidden amidst the difficulties. Focusing on what we have, rather than what we lack, can transform our perspective and fill our hearts with hope and joy, even when circumstances are less than ideal. On a slightly different tack, consider that sometimes the most powerful prayers are not spoken, but lived. Imagine a doctor who tirelessly serves the sick and suffering, not for personal gain, but out of genuine compassion. Their actions speak louder than any words, reflecting the love and grace of God to those in need. Similarly, our daily actions, our acts of kindness, compassion, and service, can be powerful expressions of our faith, demonstrating our love for God and for our fellow human beings. Living a life of purpose and service becomes a prayer in itself. Looking through a different lens, contemplate the notion that our struggles can be opportunities for divine encounters. Think of Jacob wrestling with the angel. It was a grueling, demanding encounter, leaving him physically marked. Yet, it was through this struggle that Jacob received a new name and a renewed blessing. In a similar fashion, the challenges we face can be opportunities to encounter God in a profound and transformative way, receiving strength, wisdom, and a deeper understanding of His purpose for our lives. This encounter may not always be comfortable, but it can ultimately lead to significant spiritual growth. In a related vein, let's examine the importance of forgiveness, both towards ourselves and others. Imagine a ship weighed down by barnacles. The barnacles accumulate over time, slowing the ship's progress and making it difficult to navigate. Similarly, unforgiveness weighs down our hearts, hindering our spiritual growth and preventing us from fully experiencing God's grace. Releasing bitterness and resentment, extending forgiveness as we have been forgiven, allows us to sail freely and experience the fullness of God's love. To build upon this, consider the concept of spiritual warfare. This isn't a literal battle with physical weapons, but rather a struggle against negative thoughts, temptations, and spiritual forces that seek to undermine our faith. Think of a gardener diligently tending their garden, weeding out unwanted plants and protecting it from pests. Likewise, we must actively guard our minds and hearts, resisting negative influences and cultivating thoughts that are true, noble, and praiseworthy. This requires vigilance, discernment, and a reliance on God's strength. As an alternative perspective, ponder the idea of embracing vulnerability. Society often encourages us to project an image of strength and self-sufficiency, hiding our weaknesses and vulnerabilities. However, it is in our moments of vulnerability that we often experience God's grace most powerfully. Think of a child who runs to their parent for comfort when they are hurt or afraid. It is in their vulnerability that they receive love, reassurance, and healing. Similarly, when we are honest about our struggles and weaknesses, we open ourselves up to receive God's comfort, guidance, and strength. Turning to another vital element, reflecting on the lives of biblical figures who faced adversity can offer invaluable encouragement. Consider the story of Joseph, who was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and falsely accused. Despite these immense hardships, he remained faithful to God, and ultimately rose to a position of great influence, using his power to save his family and the surrounding nations. Joseph's story reminds us that even in the midst of seemingly insurmountable challenges, God can work all things together for good, if we remain faithful to Him. Reflecting on this journey thus far, we begin to perceive a common undercurrent weaving through the tapestry of our experiences, a call to deeper engagement, a summons to move beyond the surface level of faith and embrace a more profound relationship with the divine. It's less about seeking immediate gratification or demanding specific outcomes, and more about cultivating an enduring connection that sustains us through every season of life. The essence of walking with God, as we've explored, isn't a passive acceptance of preordained events, but rather an active participation in a co-creative dance, where our will aligns with His purpose. Considering these interwoven perspectives, the path forward begins to illuminate itself, not as a clearly marked highway, but more akin to a winding mountain trail. The ascent may be challenging, the terrain uneven, and the summit often hidden from view. Yet, with each step, with each mindful breath, with each act of faith, we gain a clearer perspective, a stronger resolve, and a deeper appreciation for the journey itself. It's a journey marked not by the absence of difficulty, but by the presence of unwavering companionship. Drawing these strands together, we see a recurring motif, the importance of shifting our focus from the external circumstances to the internal transformation. It's about recognizing that the true blessings often lie not in the attainment of our desires, but in the refining of our character, the strengthening of our faith, and the deepening of our love. The trials we face are not simply obstacles to be overcome, but opportunities for growth, opportunities to discover hidden strengths, and opportunities to experience the boundless grace that is available to us. As we approach the final reflection, it's essential to acknowledge that the answers we seek may not always come in the form we expect. They may not arrive as thunderous pronouncements or miraculous interventions, but rather as gentle whispers, subtle nudges, and quiet moments of illumination. It requires a discerning heart, a receptive spirit, and a willingness to trust that even when we cannot see the full picture, God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events for our ultimate good. In light of these accumulated insights, the anticipation builds not towards a simple resolution or a neatly packaged conclusion, but rather towards a renewed sense of purpose, a strengthened commitment to our faith, and a deeper understanding of what it truly means to walk with God, not just in times of ease, but also in the face of adversity. The journey continues, and with it, the promise of continued growth, continued learning, and continued blessings. The essence of walking with God, then, distills down to this: it's not about demanding a divine guarantee of ease, but about embracing the divine partnership in the midst of life's complexities. It's about recognizing that the path to true fulfillment isn't paved with seamless victories, but rather forged in the crucible of challenges, refined by the fires of adversity, and illuminated by the unwavering light of faith. The answers we seek aren't always delivered as immediate solutions, but as gradual unveilings, revealing not just the path forward, but the strength within us to navigate it. Consider the image of a river, constantly flowing, carving its way through the landscape. It encounters obstacles, navigates bends, and weathers storms. Yet, it persists, its journey shaping not only the land around it, but also the very water that flows within it. Our lives, too, are like that river, constantly moving, constantly evolving, shaped by the experiences we encounter along the way. And just as the river draws its strength from a source beyond itself, so too do we draw our strength from the divine wellspring that never runs dry. The true practice begins now, not in the recitation of prayers or the performance of rituals, but in the daily, moment-by-moment choice to walk in faith, to trust in God's plan, even when we cannot fully understand it. It's about choosing to respond to adversity with grace, to extend forgiveness with compassion, and to live with a sense of purpose that transcends our own limited ambitions. It's about recognizing that we are not simply passengers on this journey, but active participants in a divine drama, each with a unique role to play. Ultimately, walking with God is about transformation, about becoming the people we were created to be, not in spite of our challenges, but because of them. It's about embracing the paradox that true strength is found in vulnerability, that true wisdom is found in humility, and that true joy is found in surrender. The path may not always be easy, but it is always worthwhile, for it leads to a destination far beyond our wildest dreams, a destination of peace, purpose, and unwavering love. May your walk today, and every day forward, be filled with the unwavering presence and boundless grace of God.